The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
10-year-old Rebecca Batiste died a death no child should ever know. Alone, abused, and broken. Found on a remote Arizona highway, her body bore the horrifying signs of torture, bruises, starvation, and unimaginable cruelty. Her toenails had been torn off, her eyes blackened, her tiny frame ravaged. Despite desperate calls from her school, no help came in time. Now her father and his girlfriend face murder charges, and tonight we have the latest. But first, it was a warm October night when tragedy struck on the Pacific Coast Highway. 4 young women, sorority sisters, stood together, vibrant lights in the Pepperdine University community, when a BMW came barreling towards them. Authorities say Fraser Bohm, just 22, was behind the wheel, speeding recklessly at over 100 miles per hour. In an instant, the women's lives were stolen, their futures shattered, their families left with unimaginable grief. Prosecutors allege Bohm was racing moments before the deadly crash, showing a blatant disregard for human life. He's now facing murder charges and a potential life behind bars. Meanwhile, these 4 promising, beautiful souls gone forever deserved decades, not moments. And now the Pacific Coast Highway echoes with the haunting question: why were they taken so violently, and will accountability ever come? I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And for years, we spoke about the Idaho 4, right? The 4 students from the University of Idaho who were killed by that mass murderer. And we talked about the lives that were lost and how much was lost in that case. Well, tonight we're going to tell you about the Pepperdine 4. 4 sorority sisters who, again, living their best lives, doing what you want your children to do when they go off to school, make good friends, work hard in school, and enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life, enjoy your youth. And that's what they were doing. That's absolutely what they were doing when they met a very cruel and violent death. Prosecutors say the man responsible is a young man, rich kid from LA, driving his BMW, way over the speed limit, right around Dead Man's Curve in Malibu, down the Pacific Coast Highway. What was he doing? Why was he driving that way? There's a lot of questions about that. That's what the trial will be about. And there's going to be, I suspect there will be a trial in this case because he's charged with murder, 4 counts of murder. He can spend the rest of his life behind bars because of his actions behind the wheel of that BMW that day. Now, there are a few interesting developments in the case. He's had a change of counsel and has now hired a new attorney. Do you recognize him? He's from LA, but became very famous in Massachusetts. Alan Jackson, who spent a career prosecuting in Los Angeles. Obviously, that is his home state where not where he's originally from, but where he has practiced law and spoken in front of dozens and dozens and dozens of juries, mostly as a prosecutor for years, but now as a defense attorney. And I'm sure this kid's family saw what Alan Jackson did in the Karen Reed case and said, wait a minute, let's get that guy. Let's get that guy. So he's on board now. And it's another case for Alan Jackson involving another murder weapon with 4 wheels. The alleged murder weapon in this case is going to be the BMW. And the question is, what sort of a defense are we going to expect in this trial? We're going to talk about that, but first let's hear from Court TV anchor Julia Janae, who has the story for us tonight.
October 17th, 2023, 4 Pepperdine University sorority sisters are killed in a horrific car accident on the Pacific Coast Highway. Neve Rolston, Asha Weir, Deslyn Williams, and Peyton Stewart were all seniors and members of the Alpha Phi sorority. Prosecutors say they were killed when 22-year-old Fraser Michael Bohm lost control of his BMW while speeding through Malibu.
On October 17th at around 8:30 p.m., Mr. Bond was allegedly speeding at the speeds of 104 miles an hour on a 45-mile-an-hour zone on PCH when he lost control of his BMW. He allegedly crashed into a parked car before crashing into 4 pedestrians standing together on the side of the roadway.
Bohm was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder and manslaughter stemming from their deaths. Local station KABC was in the courtroom last month when Bohm made his first court appearance with his new attorney, Alan Jackson.
Before the entry of a not guilty plea, which is what we expect, obviously, I would ask the court for 1 continuance of the arraignment. We have just been brought on the case as of the last 48 hours.
Jackson was Karen Reed's lead attorney in her trial earlier this year, which ended in acquittals for the murder and manslaughter charges she faced. Bohm's defense is expected to be that he was fleeing a road rage incident at the time of the wreck.
As far as another vehicle that's involved, we haven't been aware of anything like that. If there is anybody out there that actually has some information about that, or it was maybe a witness to it, I encourage you to contact the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
All right, I want to bring a special guest joining us, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Romani, who is based in Los Angeles, California. There he is. Nima, great to see you. Let's start first with where this took place. I think that's obviously a very important part of this case. We're going to take a look at some images right now, that part of the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. What can you tell us about that area and what sort of reputation it has, the roadway?
Vinny, it is a windy road along the beach. It has 2, sometimes 3 lanes each way, depending on what part of it is. And people drive really, really fast there because there aren't many stoplights. Sometimes they're, even miles apart. And depending on the time of day, if there's no traffic, people can go, upwards of 100 miles an hour, which is what the issue it was in this case. Now, this road has been closed for several months. It just recently reopened because of the Pacific Palisades fires. But obviously, everyone is going to remember this tragedy that took place in 2023.
And my understanding is they refer to this as Dead Man's Curve. And I believe it's the same one that the song was based upon years ago by Jan and Dean.
Absolutely, and people have wanted to put up barriers, put up more stoplights, traffic lights, even speed bumps. There's a lot of people that have been upset at this part of the curve. Now, if you're talking about Malibu, it's not part of the city of Los Angeles, it's part of LA County, and people have asked, why hasn't this road been made safer? And I know the families are waiting for this criminal case to resolve, but there's claims that have been made against the city of Malibu, the county of LA, Caltrans here, because of how dangerous this road is, and particularly this blind curve.
Okay, I want you to take a listen to the new attorney for the defendant. Let's listen.
Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Bohm, do waive formal reading of the information statement of rights and to a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations and priors.
I do, Your Honor.
Not guilty plea is entered. Special allegations and priors are deemed denied, if any. Let's see. Last day for the case would be October 6th. What date are you requesting for pre-trial?
We are, Your Honor, for September 5. The reason for the little bit shorter date is I anticipate, given that we're in front of this court in first instance here at the arraignment, we will be making a bailing consideration motion, but that's to be determined. When we file it, we'll give the prosecution plenty of notice and the court plenty of notice, but I figured that the September 5th date, if that works for the court, would give everybody plenty of time.
All right, September 5th for pre-trial. Bail motion, that will be date 30/60. In this court at 8:30, Mr. Bohm, you order to return September 5th, 2025. to this courtroom at 8:30 in the morning about such. All right.
That's it for the defense. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anything, Mr. Martin? All right. September 5th it is. Thank you.
All right, Nima, I think many of the viewers may know him, Alan Jackson, obviously from the Karen Reed trial in Massachusetts, but that's not where he's from. He's been practicing in LA for years in that area of California. What can you tell us what you think the impact will be of introducing him into this case, number one, and number two, his track record and reputation in front of Southern California juries?
Vinnie, Allen has an outstanding reputation, both him and his entire firm, probably one of the best criminal defense firms here in Los Angeles. And of course, everyone on Court TV knows him from the Karen Reed case and the result that he got, really a resounding win, notwithstanding that OWI conviction, not just once, but twice if you pull that first jury. So he's someone that knows his way around the courtroom. Obviously, he understands the science of vehicles. That was a big issue in the Reed case. But you're talking about a vehicular murder case here, and it's not typically charged. The previous district attorney, George Gascon, had a pretty soft reputation, but charged it in this case. So it's called Watson murder here because of a famous case, but carries a 15-year sentence to life on each of the counts. So a lot of potential time here, and if he gets it down to manslaughter, that's only 2 to 6 years. And of course, he may argue a defense of necessity, that he was trying to avoid another vehicle to try to get a not guilty outright. We saw in the Karen Reed case, he didn't go for the manslaughter. He went for the home run, the defense verdict, and he was more or less successful. So I expect him to do the same thing in this case.
Nima Rahmani in LA. Thank you so much, sir. Great to see you. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us live in studio tonight, criminal defense attorney, former state assistant attorney in Miami-Dade, and former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Also with us, criminal defense attorney and law professor Meg Strickler, and criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer. All right, Alan Jackson, how much of a difference can that make for a defendant?
I think it could make a major difference if they decide to enter a plea and if they can negotiate some sort of a plea that's acceptable to the state of California and acceptable to the defense.
They're hiring accident reconstruction expert. They're doing
ARCA's coming into this case.
Yes.
I guarantee you, ARCA will be the experts for the defense.
And there is not going to be any plea, Daryl. They did not hire him to plead.
Disagree.
They're hiring, so this is what this case is. It's terrible because of what happened from an otherwise very common, reckless, dangerous, awful, terrible thing. But let's just be serious. People speed around this corner every day, all the time. There's been complaints for years. It just happened that on this day, this accident stole 4 young people's lives.
I agree with that. He was, if they're able to prove with science that the car was going at least 70 or 80 or what they allege is over 100, that does rise up to the charge that they're charging them.
One of the differences here between this and the Karen Reed trial, they're both murder trials with motor vehicles. There's witnesses, number one. Mm-hmm. We know that the vehicle caused the accident. So that is not in question here.
No question.
At the last trial, that was the question.
Yeah.
But we did not, and here, unlike Karen Reed, we have, as you mentioned, visual evidence, not just forensic scientific evidence that we know he died and how he died and whether or not the car, the taillight was hurt. I mean, all of that sort of thing. But here, the amount of speed that he was going, so excessive, if they are able to prove it, and I think they will, if they go to trial, he is going to have to come up with a defense, such as has been mentioned, that he was trying to elude someone chasing him.
There's a big difference here. There's a big difference.
Witnesses.
Murder, 15 to life.
Right.
Manslaughter, 2 to 6.
And that's depending on what the goal is. Is the goal to end with a manslaughter? Because the bad fact is there's no question this kid was driving the car that hit the other car that killed the 4 people. There's no getting away from that at all. So what's the goal of the trial? Is it to get away from a mandatory 15 to life? Or is it go win times 4? Or is it go win the whole thing and get a not guilty? I think the not guilty is really hard because of, like you're saying, the speed is automatically reckless.
Are you surprised that the new DA has not tried to alter the charges here?
Not yet.
Gascon went after him because Gascon saw that he was driving a BMW.
Yes.
This was a child of privilege, so I'm going to throw the book at him, right? That's the way Gascon operated in L.A.
A class-based prosecution.
Right. So do you think there's any chance of a second look or the offer of the deal for manslaughter? 4 counts, open. He's facing up to 24 years. He's only he's young. He's only 23 years old.
But he's already
four innocent girls are dead.
on bond, which already is indicative, in my opinion, of the lack of strength of the prosecutor's job. I know that money gives people bond. In other words, you get great lawyers, people get bond.
Right.
The poor people who are charged with these kinds of crimes.
And you can also afford to post the money if you have money.
But this is different. If he had gone out with a gun and shot and killed every one of those girls, bond is not an issue. He's not going to get it. But here, it's what we call an OTO. They're going to try to say it's a one-time only, and that was it. It would never happen again. But class, he was classless, and he had a heavy foot.
That's disrespecting what's actually happening here, because you know as well as I do that if the victims had been 4 other besides unbelievably beautiful, successful college kid, leading story, which is why Gascon really did this, is there's some PR and headhunting involved. If that victim demographic changes, this whole case changes, in my opinion.
I think you have the right to be wrong.
So looking at this, right, it's one action, but 4 lives are taken, right? And there's a big difference between 2 to 6 and 2 to 6 times 4, or 15 to life and 15 to life times 4. Is that going to be a part of this, or is he going to be held to account for each life that he took?
The state's going to be certain that each life is accounted for in any deal, right?
Of course,
like, it's not going to be plead on one and the other 3 merge and dismiss.
Absolutely.
Not in a million
all of the
years.
families have been very present so far in the courts. So every time there's been a hearing, all of the family and friends have been there.
And they're going to have a big influence on if there is a plea offer, because I'll tell you, they turn around and offer the kid 2 years on each of them. First lifetime offender, that's 8 years with some first offense parole. Good time, he's out in 3 or 4 or 5 for a really bad speeding, reckless action that unfortunately stole 4 lives. That's a pretty good offer.
But this is a case where prosecutors have nothing to lose by going to trial. They're not losing this trial.
Well,
I mean, there's going to be an argument. We're going to talk about the argument. But they have to be going into it knowing, like Darryl said, that this is the guy who caused the accident. So there's going to be some level of culpability, you would think, as a prosecutor, knowing that 4 lives were taken and he's 100% at fault here.
What's interesting, though, is that he apparently doesn't have a prior speeding record, from what I've read. And I think that actually helps the defense rather well.
How about the fact of where this took place, on a dangerous road? If it's on a dangerous road, does that help him or hurt him?
It hurts him. It hurts him because he knew better than to speed at the speed he was going. Whether it's 70, 80, 90, or 100, he knew better. The foot gets off the metal.
That comes in a little bit, but we've literally got a legendarily dangerous, an open and notorious condition that has cost lives before. At some point, the criminal is the government for allowing that condition to continuously exist. Around here, we just had a giant multi-million-dollar case against a small city because they didn't move their planters. And the planters were dangerous and killed a Georgia Tech kid when he wrecked into them. He caused the wreck, but that dangerous condition is the real problem.
I think the real problem is too much speed, maybe not enough enforcement, and that is the real problem. He did not have to speed. He did not have to go excessively fast. PCH is a dangerous area. I know it, and I know it well. But because there have been previous accidents, certainly the county should have done something, but that doesn't excuse what he did.
How much does money impact this? The money that the defendant has, that he can put into his defense. We talked about ARCA. To me, there's always going to be issues in cases like this. Will it make a difference for this defendant?
100% is going to make a difference because experts, we all 3 have cases all the time where if we're doing a court-appointed case, we have to beg the judge to give us funds for investigators or for experts. So when somebody doesn't have the money, they can't pay for those things.
When the state has an expert they don't like, they just go hire more experts till they get one that works. When you're doing appointed work or working with a private family, you have a very limited budget. We're all familiar with how much these experts cost, and it's a legitimate defense to be aggressive with your experts. Make the state prove their burden in the face of scientists and experts who know the science. That's something that everybody should have, but it's the unfairness of our system.
All right.
But guess what? Life ain't fair.
Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about who this defendant, this driver, is going to point the finger at. Because he's pointing the finger at somebody. We'll tell you who, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates beneath the surface of a quiet family home. Children were allegedly locked in cages and silenced by fear. What dark secrets were Brian and Jill Griffith hiding behind closed doors? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Asha was wise and gentle. Neve was just joyful and such a light and so kind. Peyton was so driven and just selfless and just the best. And Deslyn was always the life of the party. She was like the confidence. She was your confidence when you didn't have it. They had so many aspirations, so many goals. They were going to go so many places, and it's truly heartbreaking that their lives were taken too soon.
Such a devastating loss. And you talk about a case like this, yes, it's a motor vehicle, it's not a shooting, but the lives are still gone. And according to prosecutors, they should not be. And this young man is at fault for his behavior, his extremely reckless behavior that day. Now, we're going to get into what the defense may very well talk about during the course of this trial. Shane Gang Pictures and 408 Productions and director Nick Davis created a documentary about this dangerous stretch and the history of the Pacific Coast Highway called 21 Miles in Malibu. Here's a look at some of the trailer.
It is one of the most dangerous places around.
PCH isn't safe, and everyone knows that, and no one's done anything about that.
I have seen 9 fatal collisions or deaths from this exact spot where I'm standing.
There is study after study after study about what needs to be done. Not one of them has been implemented.
Being in this roadway is the single most dangerous thing you're probably going to do.
Think Tank still with us here in studio. Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. Does information like that get in front of the jury? The history of the road, can it?
Indirectly, certainly.
Well, also, they live there. They're going to be jurors from LA
Could you
County.
bring in an expert to talk about how dangerous the road is?
Oh, absolutely. If you're going to claim it as part of the defense being, you know, the inability to safely operate, a traditional history of the location, juries can take notice of the prior wrecks there.
It's like prior bad acts of a road.
It's character evidence, except it's admissible because it's against a non-human entity.
It may be admissible. I don't think it is, but the judge will make that decision if there's a trial. But regardless, that doesn't excuse 103 miles an hour.
All right, let's get into that. Let's get into that, because here's what the defense is saying about why he was driving the way he was driving. This is a report from April 30th from ABC 7 Eyewitness News out in L.A. And this is before Alan Jackson was in the case, but I can't imagine that the defense would change their view of the facts because you have different lawyers. They would never do that, would they? So Bohm's attorney, who objected to the murder charges, told the judge that the young man was being, quote, chased in a road rage incident and accelerated before the deadly crash. The defense attorney countered that a road rage incident does not have to be a high-speed chase, referring to another motorist whom he called aggressive in attempting to confront Bohm about his driving while they were at a traffic light before the crash. So there's interaction with another motorist,
Alleged.
Right. No, it happened. It happened because the person he interacted with is a star witness for the prosecution. Take a look at this. His name is Victor Calandra, a Malibu resident of 35 years that testified. He drove alongside Bohm on October 17th. He took the stand. And again, this is from the Pepperdine University Graphic, the school paper, doing amazing work here. Took the stand for the most amount of time. Security camera footage from PCH showed Calandra's blue GMC pickup truck driving in close proximity to Bohm minutes before the crash, so he's there. Calandra said although he was around 100 yards behind, he noticed Bohm's BMW driving erratically and swerving on PCH just beyond Sunset Boulevard toward Topanga. Calandra was able to catch up to the erratic vehicle at the Los Flores Canyon stoplight. So, yeah, there was this conversation at the stoplight. Here's what Calandra said. At this light, Calandra said he noticed Bohm had his cell phone between his legs under the steering wheel and was moving his thumbs, possibly texting. Calandra rolled down his window and tried to get Bohm's attention as he testified, saying, "Hey, you need to be careful. You're going to hurt yourself." Calandra said there was no response from Bohm, and when the light turned green, the BMW took off with extreme acceleration. That's what this trial's about. This trial's going to be about that. The defense attorney went after this guy on cross-examination at the prelim.
Yeah. Major mistake.
No.
Yeah, I read I watched the transcript being read on a YouTube video, and I watched when that cross-examination happened. And what's going to happen in the future is when we have preliminary hearings here in Georgia, is when that guy retestifies later on in the future, we're going to make sure if there's any corroborating evidence. Was there a traffic light cam? Yeah. Was there a camera from some gas station? I'm sure right now as we speak, all that investigation's happening, and it will either corroborate or it's going to hurt.
And if he oversold the innocent Good Samaritan that conveniently warned the young man to drive safer immediately before the horrific killing
Alan
of
Jackson's going to have to go after this Victor Calandra.
You're going to go try to eat
They have
lunch.
a trial. And I keep saying if.
Well, let's pretend they're going to.
All right, then he's going to go after him. He's going to say that he was chasing Bohm, and Bohm was trying to accelerate to get out of the way of the pursuing vehicle.
Calandra's not going to say he was chasing.
Yeah. No, but Alan Jackson can argue that.
And that's exactly where reasonable doubt comes, because, hold on, you're going to have a witness with self-serving, hey, I'm the Good Samaritan testimony, when the bad guy now is on trial for his life. That's going to make some jurors cynical.
So Victor Calandra is one of two things in this case, right? He's a Good Samaritan trying to help keep this young man safe who's driving erratically by warning him, or this is road rage and he's antagonizing this young man, perhaps putting him in fear. I mean, that's the picture they're going to try to paint.
That never happens.
Money comes into this. So they're going to get cameras from every single angle, and they're going to find every single car that was anywhere near this
But let me
incident.
tell you this. He admits that he's 100 yards behind him witnessing this, but drives to catch up to him.
Correct. Yeah. Which does not
confront him.
Doesn't sound like a good Samaritan.
To confront him. That's, to me, that's the only...
You reverse that, and the DA is going to charge that guy with stalking or something, because I tell you, it turns real quick to chase down.
Right. So, in everything I'm hearing from you, it's how does this testimony play in light of whatever video evidence the jury gets to see and the testimony they get to hear? Is this kid going to have to testify about being intimidated?
Ooh, that's going to be rough. He does not look like somebody. I mean, just by his visual, I can't tell. But I can't think he'd be a good testifier.
If you're trying to claim that you're scared, you're going to have to tell the jury you're scared. Why is being scared presumed?
It's not going to work.
You tell the jury with body language, with facial expressions, but you cannot testify if he testifies.
How about this? Let me throw one more thing in there, and then we're done with this. And that is that after the crash, Calandra was yelling at the kid because he had just killed someone.
He's the one who said the MF, didn't he?
Yeah, and people witnessed that. Yep. I think the defense is going to try to take that Victor Calandra and put him at the traffic light. I think that's where this trial's going.
The character of the witness is unbelievably important.
Again, if there's a trial.
Speed.
If there's a trial.
No need for speed.
All right. Folks, we have a verdict in the Revenge Mom murder trial in Florida. What did the jury decide? This is a live look inside the courtroom as the parties gather. We will bring you that verdict next.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
We've got some breaking news. A verdict is in the case against Sheila Agee, a mother accused of helping coordinate the murder of her son's girlfriend. The son has been convicted already. Sheila Agee testified earlier today, closing arguments. Now it's time to hear from the jury. Let's take you inside the courtroom.
State's present, defendant is present with counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict? Okay, and are you the foreperson? Yes. Okay, if you would hand the verdict form to our court deputy, I'm going to review it, make sure it's been filled out completely. Believed to be in proper order, and I'll have Madam Clerk publish the verdict. Ms. Agee, please rise to accept the jury's verdict.
In the Circuit Court for Escambia County, Florida, State of Florida Plaintiff versus Sheila Annette Agee, Defendant, Clerk number 1723 CF 003379B, Division A, Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows as to the count charged in the indictment. Count 1, guilty of principal to first-degree murder as charged. So say we all this 6th day of August, 2025.
Would either party like the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Madam Clerk's going to poll you. She's going to ask you a question. If you'll just respond to her question.
Juror Carpenter, is this your individual verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror Radot, is this your individual verdict?
All right. There you have it. Guilty as charged. And, you know, looking at the reaction, is she shocked? I think if you didn't do it, right, and now you've been wrongfully convicted of planning the murder of another human being, I don't know, you might be shocked, crying, maybe angry, I don't know. Kind of looks like she expected it. Her son's been convicted. Well, they won't be put in the same prison, obviously, but whole family now. There you go. There you go.
The last,
Think tank is still with us. This is, I always look at the reactions. Oh, the judge is speaking. Let's listen to the judge.
I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you for your service on Monday, yesterday, and again today. You gave 3 days of your time to help us resolve this case, and we certainly appreciate the time and consideration you've given to this case and your willingness to serve. I am going to reintroduce the attorneys. We have Ms. Bridget Myers-Jensen. She's the Chief Assistant State Attorney here in the First Judicial Circuit, and Mr. Alvin Trey Myers, and he is the Deputy Chief Assistant State Attorney here in the First Judicial Circuit for the state of Florida, and Mr. David Ackerman, who's in private practice here in Pensacola. And I always like to reintroduce them in case you wish to reach out to them. They won't reach out to you, but if you'd like to, I know when I was trying cases, I did on a few occasions have jurors contact me, and it was helpful to understand, what the discussions were in the jury room. But again, that's up to you. You're not required to do that in any way, and you can find their contact information online. And again, this will count as your jury service for the year.
Sheila Agee, guilty of murder. I mean, she's not getting out of prison, by the way, regardless of what the sentence is, but it'll likely be life. All right, when we come back, we're going to bring back in our think tank to talk about what we just saw down in Pensacola, Florida, a guilty verdict for the mother of a killer.
This is the Court TV podcast.
A woman's remains found scattered throughout a 3-mile area.
Now, a former naval officer stands trial accused of killing his wife.
The dismembered wife murder trial. Live coverage weekdays, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back. We're covering some breaking news out of Pensacola, Florida. Sheila Agee has been found guilty for conspiring with her son to murder 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims. Brooklyn's mom now inside the courtroom speaking. Let's take a listen.
Dictionary defines a mother as a woman who has given birth to a child, provided an egg for a child, or who has legally adopted a child. My definition of a mother is a selfless, loving human who often sacrifices many of her own wants and needs for those needs of her children. A mother makes sure that her children are equipped with knowledge, skills, and the abilities to make it as a competent human being. It has been 1 year, 11 months, and 25 days since my daughter, Brooklyn Taylor Dior Sims, was tragically taken from me. I miss my daughter. Casey lost her mama. Casey lost her daddy. Casey lost her other grandmother. When I say my granddaughter does not understand, and I don't know if she ever will, what happened on August the 11th, 2023. When I say this, I'll never be the same. Try to go on for Casey's sake, but I'll never be the same. I want to thank you, Trey, Ms. Bridget. Thank the jurors. That today, Justin for Brooklyn Taylor Sims has been served.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
How's Casey doing now?
She's thriving. She's getting big. At the time of the incident, Casey was 15 months. October, Casey will turn 4. She's just like Brooklyn. When I say identical, she looks like her from head to toe. She's her mom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor.
Anybody else that wanted to be heard?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. Based on the jury's verdict, though, there's only one lawful sentence, Your Honor, and that's adjudication of guilt, life in state prison without the possibility of parole. I believe the court costs are $518, and that's all the state has, Your Honor.
I believe her credit was 722 days.
Judge, may I apply for legislation?
Yes, sir. Just 1 second.
Your Honor, I would like to say that Ms. Sims is 100% correct. I failed as a mother. I failed as a friend. And I failed as a grandmother. And it was something Brooklyn didn't deserve. There's no way I can express my sorrow
to you, and I'm sorry. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't ask for forgiveness. And I don't ask for forgiveness when you need it, Kiki. But I want to let you know you are a great mother. You are a great mother. You are a great grandmother. And you were a great friend. And I let you down. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart for letting you down. And I hope you strive. And I hope Casey strives. And Kiki, I hope you and Ada strive. And I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, Ms. Jennifer. And thank you, Mr. Trey. And thank you, Mr. David. And I am so sorry to my family. I love y'all. And Your Honor, I apologize to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Agee. Mr. Ackerman, anything else from you, sir?
I'm sorry.
I said, was there anything else from you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Already done.
Based on the jury's verdict finding you guilty as charged of principal to first-degree murder, I will adjudicate you guilty of that charge, sentence you to life in the Florida Department of Corrections without the possibility of parole. I believe she has credit for 722 days. Any objection to that amount of credit? And she'll be given that credit. I'll impose $518 in court cost. Madam Clerk, there's no other required cost, correct? All right, and this is the judgment and sentence of the court. You have 30 days to appeal. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you. And all financial obligations will be reduced to judgment lien. That's correct.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. A murderer apologizes immediately after the verdict, apologizes to the victims, says she's sorry, apologizes to the court, and does not ask for any forgiveness. It's life for Sheila Agee. Let's go around the horn here quickly. We have about 15 seconds each. What are your thoughts about what we just saw?
Never heard that before. That was class after a horrible murder.
Yep. I think she was very grounded in what she said. It seemed very meaningful.
Yeah, and when we talk about authenticity, both of those women showed authenticity, because I don't want to miss that victim impact statement, which was, that's a powerful victim impact statement.
Yeah, and they were friends. Oh. They were both grandparents for this child. They knew each other, and it happened. The jury obviously got it right. She apologized afterwards. But a big moment. I'm glad you were here for it. Darrell Cohen, thank you so much. Meg Strickler and Josh Schiffer. We'll see you again soon. Sheila Agee, guilty of murder, life. There's no parole down in Florida, so it's just life. She will die behind bars, as her son will as well. Okay. I need you to take a look at your screens because we have a missing child who needs your help. Take a look. This is Daziana Capri Lone Wolf, missing since July 22nd, just 17 years old, missing from Cook, Nebraska. Now, she may be in the local area or may travel to Manderson, South Dakota. This is what I need you to do. If you see Daziana, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Johnson County Sheriff's Office in Nebraska. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Daziana to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.